defensive zone. Here's Pietrasiak towards the left, one-timer, parallel of Louie George. Back to Len Pelletier at the near point. Robson behind the cage and score! Robson feeds Jay Pietrasiak to the right of Louie George, and Pietrasiak puts in the goal. Port Huron leads 1-0, 11:45 to go in the first period, and it is Pietrasiak scoring his second goal in the season in his 15th game with the Prowlers. 1-0 Port Huron your score, 11 3/4 now left in our first. As Robson, he'll pick up an assist, give him his first on the year with Port Huron 14th game under head coach Trevor Karazowicz. Uhnak playing it on the red line. Uhnak circling around. He's got Hicks and Taguna tailing him. Now Kozlak drops it. Lamoureux, he's tailed. Now Kozlak shot and score! Tell you that chain of plays, it was Jacques Lamoureux against Julian Frazier. Frazier found himself on top of the Dayton forward, but Lamoureux still found the route to Scott Kozlak, who puts in his 14th goal of the season in his 15th game. Kozlak ties this game up at 1, 9:51 to go in the first period. We're all squared up at a goal apiece. Shots on goal, 10-3 Port Huron as Alonzo and Van Weinsberg tangle up, and it's Port Huron with the face-off. Robson, who will now go in the slot. Fuller back to Daae. He'll swing it behind him in the near corner. Alonzo picks it up, and there's Skinner, and there's a goal for Dustin Skinner. Port Huron for the second time tonight. They'll start it from behind the goal line, find a wingman coming towards the goal, and this time it's Dustin Skinner. And Skinner now tied for the team league with 27 goals with Chris Levier. And Port Huron back on top by 1, 2-1 Prowlers, 9:06 to go in the first. It is Dustin Skinner with his 27th goal in his 32nd game. Top of it, broken stick on the ice. McCauley is without a stick at the moment. There's a shot and score! Julian Frazier from the near point, and Port Huron takes a 3-1 lead, 18:09 to go in the second. Julian Frazier getting a point. He'll feed up on the near point, and that will bounce behind the net of Louie George. And it's 3-1 Prowlers, nearly 2 minutes into our second. And by the way, Port Huron now out shooting Dayton 15-12. Those first shots on goal the second period are brought to you by Stoner Holsters in Middletown, Ohio. Louie George 0-6-2 against the Prowlers this season. That goes sky high. And now towards the far corner, Coach Karazowicz clapping his hands. He likes that. Now here's Hicks at the near point. Hicks, rebound and score! That curves right in front of Louie George into the back of the net, and Port Huron has scored twice in this period with 16:13 to go in the second. Port Huron now leads 4-1. I believe that might have been Nathan Robson curving it in front of Louie George as that bent towards the left of George. Skimming past the net of the Dayton goalie, Jared Hicks offered it up. And Port Huron with 2 goals in this second. They have now opened up a 3-goal lead on the Demolition here at Hara Arena. And Joe St. Pierre will come in for Louie George. Louie George is pulled with 16:13 to go in the second. And Joe St. Pierre will come in. This will be his first look against the Port Huron Prowlers. He was signed during that 4-game road streak in the FHL's Great Northeast. Joe St. Pierre comes in 2-4 on the season, 8 games played, a goals allowed average of 5.22, and a save percentage of 87.5%. St. Pierre warming Gallo in the zone, and one-timer save McWhinney. Pelletier comes racing for it, Lamoureux on top of it. Back for McKenzie, going for Marks for our face-off circle, score! Uhnak leads the trail of Demolition members. They score in a 5-on-3 with 12:15 to go in the second, and it's now a 4-2 Port Huron lead. Uhnak, if he buries the rebound, that gives him 2 points on the night and gives him a team-leading 21 goals on the season. 4-2 Port Huron, 12:15 to go in the second, and Dayton scores their 36th power play goal. That's the third most in the league, 4 behind Port Huron with 40. And it's not soccer after all, but there's nothing to say you can't kick passes. There's a shot, McCauley score! McCauley has reached a double-digit plateau in goals. He's got 10 on the year. He's got 5 with Danville, and now he's got 5 with Dayton. 6 seconds from Frazier's interference call. He's by the far face-off circle and just rips a one-timer into the back of the net. And Port Huron's lead cut down to 1, 4-3. Prowlers, 5:34 to go in the second. Face-off recovered by Dayton. Here comes slot, and there's another broken stick. It's Alex Norman. Here's Van Weinsberg, looks for Felton. Felton blasts this one off the leg of McWhinney, and Pelletier stands up. And there is Van Weinsberg in the slot. Port Huron put a 3-goal lead on the Dayton Demolition, chasing away Louie George, and Dayton late in the second half tied it up at 4. Robert Van Weinsberg in the slot, buries one home. Dayton working the goal line magic to V12, make it V15. Van Weinsberg with the goal, and we are squared away at 4 with 4:53 to go in the second. Dayton now out shooting Port Huron 29-24. Tied at 4. Kozlak, Lamoureux looking for Timer. Timer working the near corner. Back out for Lamoureux around the near boards. Here's Kozlak, open ice, score! Answered a 3-goal deficit with 4 in a row against Port Huron. It's a 5-4 Dayton lead. Dayton leads for the first time this game with 3:09 to go in the second against Dan McWhinney and the Prowlers, as Dayton looks to win their second game of the series in the battle of old versus new Dayton. Face-off center ice, Van Weinsberg. Uhnak unable to clamp down on it as Fuller from Skinner now up ahead. 6 seconds now left. It's Fuller looking for Daae. There's Skinner, and score! Skinner scores a power play goal for the Prowlers. They're 41st on the year, and we are tied up at 5, 18-19 to go in the third, and the 4 goals in a row by Dayton is now a thing in the history books. We're tied at 5, 18-19 to go in the third. Dayton almost killing off the third power play on the night by Port Huron, but it's Dustin Skinner bearing his 28th goal on the season, his second one tonight, and now Skinner leads the team with goals, one over Chris Levier, who's not in action tonight, not listed on the roster, as Hicks and Van Weinsberg tangle up center ice, and Port Huron ties. Have been very, very close. Only a handful of games have been blowouts as Van Weinsberg takes it, scores! Robert Van Weinsberg and the wrecking crew keep Port Huron. They catch Port Huron napping a little bit, and Van Weinsberg takes it and pours it in past Dan McWhinney, and Dayton back on top 6-5. The Demolition's first goal in the third comes at a very, very good time. Goal versus Hicks, and it is the Prowlers with the face-off win. Alonzo, blast, score! Dustin Skinner hat trick ties it up at 6. With 1:40 to go on the extra attacker power play, Giroux out of the box. And we have 1:40 to go in regulation. Dan McWhinney heading back towards his crease. Dustin Skinner and the Prowlers, up 2 men, will bury it home. Lee Skinner had the last touch on that. Roger Daguna led the line up front. We'll see who the credit is as Joe St. Pierre gives up his second goal tonight. 1:40 to go in the third. We're tied up at 6. And Dayton will take their timeout to discuss some strategy. We'll take one with the Demolition. Tied up at 6, 1:40 left in regulation here on the Dayton Demolition Broadcasting Network. Of former Demons as Pelletier races forward against Jacques Lamoureux and Miles McCauley. Pelletier flings it. Here comes Hicks. Hicks to Daguna and score! Daguna wins it in OT and Port Huron holds on for 2 of 3 possible points. Good puck movement by the Prowlers as they win it 7-6 in overtime. 3:12 left in OT and Roger Daguna has won it for the Prowlers. Port Huron, they improved to 26-13-1 on the season, and Dayton falls to 13-24-4 with the OT loss. Roger Daguna wins it for Port Huron. We'll be back with the Premier Health postgame show after this here on the Dayton Demolition Broadcasting Network.
This is the news. This morning, we are saluting the 2.2 million